now. Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joins us here today. Wes, what's going on, buddy? How are you? Hey, man, you're a big star now. I seen you were on TV the other day. We were joking about that via text message. The sneakers did it for me, my friend.
What LeBron? I told you about there. That was.
All right, let's jump into some college football stuff now. We'll go because you and I could talk sneakers forever. We could probably do a sneaker podcast and get away with it. Anyway. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we had some big news coming out today, and I want to talk some ACC stuff with you in a moment. But big news on the cancellation front today with it just happened about, an hour and a half ago, I think it was. Ohio State and Michigan canceled. Man, you hate to see that kind of rivalry put on the shelf for a moment.
Year 2020 has been. We don't get a Michigan-Ohio State game. Who would have thought in all your years that you would get to see that football game at the end of the season? I mean, you would think even if these two teams were in different conferences, they would still find a way to link up and play. So it's very unfortunate, and just another harsh reminder of just how 2020, nothing is guaranteed.
That's definitely true on that. All right, let me ask you this before we get moving on from talking about that game. How does that affect your opinion of Ohio State as far as their CFP chances?
It's very tough for them right now because you look at it and you just wonder what kind of case can they make as far as getting to the playoffs when the other teams ahead of them have so much more of a resume. And that's unfortunate. I know for those kids, they're really upset about it. You know, the Ohio State fan base and their higher ups. This is one of the more powerful programs in college football. So, it's disappointing to everybody around, but we're going to see because just wild things have happened before. They go to the Big Ten Championship and put on a fantastic showing. We'll see because, like I said, it is 2020. We never know. Ohio State may find a way to get in there.
Yeah, and I think that people get upset with me on Twitter and stuff like that because I'm like, if you don't play the amount of games, you don't belong. I'm not saying Ohio State's not a good team. I'm just saying that you have to play enough games to earn that spot. You can be the prettiest girl in the contest, but if you don't play enough in the contest, you're not going to win. I mean, that's my whole logic with that. I don't think I'm that far off.
They played is the fact of the 10 and just how they were this year. Had they been able to beat a top 10 Ohio State, had they been able to beat a ranked Michigan State, had they been able to beat a ranked Michigan and then go to the Big Ten championship game and put on a dominant performance against a Wisconsin or a Northwestern or something like that, then they would have a good game. But right now the resume is just not looking good. The only quality win on their resume is over Indiana, and I think that hurts them a lot too. If they were coming into this thing, yeah, they only played 6-7 games, but 3 to 4 of those came against top 15, top 20 competition, and they dominated those teams. Then you have a basis to look at it and say, well, yeah, they didn't play a lot of games, but the quality of the wins they had, they're one of the best 4 teams in America, and they're not going to have that at their advantage.
Yeah, what's interesting, we're going to see how that weighs out for Ohio State. One of the other things I wanted to get into with you today is that, we had kind of some backlash from, I guess it's between the two conferences, when the ACC basically said that Clemson and the big three didn't have to play this weekend, to kind of save the ACC championship game. I think that decision's actually looking really good because if you look at Florida has to play LSU this weekend, and then you may end up messing with the integrity of the SEC championship game if, let's say that, something happens and a Kyle Trask or a Kyle Pitts ends up testing positive via contact tracing, they may not be able to play in the SEC championship. I think this was a bright move by the ACC.
2020 hindsight, it does. It's just so hard to predict anything that's happening this season. And so, the ACC is going to get the championship game that it needs, that it's wanted, all season long. And it's going to be easily the most anticipated matchup. I don't really see a matchup that you could have given either one of the teams, that were left as far as Notre Dame and Clemson that would have thrown it off unless they were playing Miami and North Carolina, respectively. So, everything worked out for the ACC, and we'll get the game that we want. We'll see what happens in the SEC this week. I think everything should turn out okay.
Yeah, and I think that I was sitting at home and thinking about this last night, and I was like, you know what? I think everyone wants to see Clemson, Notre Dame full strength on both sides. And I understand if the injury aspect of it doesn't happen, but when it comes to the COVID stuff, it's just like if you can avoid that, but by basically not playing a game that really doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, affect the conference. I just think that that's just outstanding. But kudos to the ACC for that. Coming up this weekend, though, the ACC does have some good games. You've got. I'm trying to remember that I had them written down on my notes and then left my notes in the other room. Yeah, that is going to be the marquee game this week. And I tell you what, when I was looking at that, I was thinking about, how special De'Aaron King has been for Miami, a team that didn't score a point in a bowl game last year, but they're able to. I mean, they've been a pretty good team this year.
Quarterback that's been in his career. And it's right there, fifth in the ACC is scoring at around 35 points per game. Their passing offense has also been markedly better this year. King has been able to find guys down the field. Miami's fourth in the league in passing offense. And rushing offense, that's what you want to see a little bit more from them. But he's provided a lot for them in that department. But this kid has just come in and he's been everything that you thought that he would be, and also provided great leadership for the football team. He's fourth in the ACC in passing efficiency, and he's fifth in yards. And he's just a guy that comes in and turns the ball over very much either with a 20 touchdown to 4 interception ratio. So this kid, as I said, but the biggest thing to me that he provides for Miami is that calming presence, that leadership. I really think he puts the belief in this football team that they can win no matter what. We saw what he did at NC State this season, battling to bring them back down late. He's had plenty of big-time moments, and as I've been saying all year, no matter if he throws an interception for a touchdown or whether he throws a 20-yard bomb, he keeps the same demeanor. And I think that football team has kind of taken that identity. You still see some of the Miami swag. You still see the gestures after plays and the celebrations. But for the most part, this team has played well when it needed to. As I said, the Clemson loss, everybody loses to Clemson, it seems like, and everybody doesn't look good while they do it. Miami just so happens to fall into that. But they'll have a great opportunity to make a statement because I don't think that Miami got a chance to get that marquee win this season. And not that North Carolina is exactly the barometer that you want, but as far as the offense that they employ, that they put out there and as prolific as they are scoring the ball, this is a chance for Miami to come out against a top 20 team and, make a statement that we might have lost to Clemson, but we're still up there with the best of them. And I'm sure they wanted a shot at Notre Dame as well, but they won't get that. But yeah, this is going to be a fantastic game this weekend, in my opinion.
Well, and this has kind of big time bowl matchups, because if Miami can finish that at 9-1, they have definitely an argument to be in the New Year's Six conversation and possibly move up a little bit even higher in the polls.
Definitely will. Yeah, and that the bowl commission, one of the things that they factor in also is your brand. And Miami is one of the biggest brands that we have in college football. They're an exciting football team, as you said, with De'Aaron King and the crew. And so this is the thing. And Miami is notorious for not traveling well from a fan's perspective. But I think that now they've got to the point where Miami fans, this isn't the days of old. where, they're going to top bowl games every year and competing for national championships. So if they go to New York Six, it's a New Year's Six game, that it's a disappointment. So I think that they will show out as much as you possibly can, all things considered, for their team. And I think that definitely they will be a high priority candidate for a New Year's Six game.
Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joining us here on the Rundown. Monday is kind of the dark day in coaching where, there's going to be some folks that aren't going to are going to have to move on. Do you have an inkling of anyone you think that may be moving on from the ACC?
That's tough, and you hate to see anybody lose their job. I can't say I don't have any sources or anything that would tell me that anybody is going to be getting fired, so to speak. But if you were to speculate, just what could be in transition, maybe looking for a change. I'm interested to see what's going to happen at Duke this year. Are they going to continue on with Cutcliffe, or will they decide to maybe look elsewhere, turn the page, or will Cutcliffe himself, as long as he's been in the game, will he say, listen, I want to turn this over to someone else? So that will be interesting to see. If you look at the teams that are in the middle to bottom of this league, Pitt with Pat Narduzzi, I don't think anything, will happen there, but it'll be interesting to see what will happen there with that coaching staff. If they try to get some guys in there to get more offensive, they hired a new offensive coordinator this year. But Virginia Tech, I think, will be the top candidate to see what's going to happen there. With Justin Fuente, ever since he got there in that first season, went to the ACC championship, things haven't gone quite the way they wanted to there. I know the fans there are getting restless. So it'll be interesting to see if they make a change. Louisville as well, I'm not quite sure. That they'll make a change now, because Satterfield had a really good first season. So I think we know Florida State's not going to do anything. I don't suspect Syracuse will do anything, with Dino Davis. But I'd say probably Virginia Tech and Duke are the two teams that it's just going to be interesting to see one way or the other what they decide to do with their coaching position, with where they're at in their program.
It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And I don't like to talk about people losing their jobs either, but that's something it's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to see coaches move from different spot to different spot. And it's not just the head coaches, there's assistants that end up moving too. So it's kind of a morbid thing to talk about, but it is something that can affect football programs across the country. So I appreciate you sharing some of that with us. I have to ask you about the Louisville-Wake Forest game before we get out of here. Wake Forest at 4-3, it seems like they've kind of found their way after a bit of a slow start. Louisville, of course, their season is not going quite the way that they wanted it. What do you think about that matchup to end the regular season for those two programs?
Sitting in third, ACC is born, and this Louisville offense, as I said, they've left a lot to be desired this year. 28 points per game at 10th in the league. Wake Forest, but this is just a very well-disciplined team. This is a team that really turned around their season from the way it looked like it was going to start. Not just because I'm an alum, but I like Wake Forest in this football game. I just think Louisville, I think they're ready to get their season done and turn the page, but I'm sure they're going to fight as well to end their season on a high note. That's what I would expect from Coach Satterfield and what he brings. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup. Wake, though, I give them the edge just from the way they play. I think they'll be, as I said, really ready to play another football game and want to get some revenge after the way they lost to Louisville last season.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's gonna. I kind of like that matchup. As I like Louisville. Of course, they run up and throw the ball all over the place, and I like to watch what Coach Clausen does with the offense up there at Wake Forest. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to have you back on next week, man, to preview the ACC championship game, and I look forward to chatting with you then. Of course, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network. Folks can follow you online and get a look at the sneakers he wore on TV. Tell people where they can go, man. All right, Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joining us here on the Rundown. Wes, man, thanks so much. All right, buddy. Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network joining us here on the Rundown. We appreciate him. Of course, at Westcott Range on Twitter. Appreciate him joining us, talking a little ACC football as we get moving here on the Rundown this afternoon. We've also got some breaking news, as Brandon pointed out to me in the chat room there. According to 247 Sports, Ernest Jones has declared for the NFL draft. The Gamecocks' leading tackler from last season has decided to skip his final year of eligibility and enter the draft. Made the announcement on his Instagram on Tuesday afternoon. He's the third player to officially leave the program a year early for the NFL, joining J.C. Horn and Israel Mukwamu. So, yeah, good player in Ernest Jones. I don't know how that's going to affect it is going to affect the Gamecocks big time. You lose your leading tackler. But at this point, man, when you're at a point where you're rebuilding like the Gamecocks are, you don't know how that I can understand why he did it. So if you want to call us up on that, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. We'll take a quick break, and we come back. We'll have more for you on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
SCMEP is now offering SCMEP Online, a new online training portal that offers classes with unlimited flexibility. Start improving your skill set today with training specifically for manufacturers. Don't let this training opportunity pass you by. Classes are being added weekly, spanning every aspect of business. Visit scmep-online.org for more information. SCMEP is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization sponsored by SCMEP in cooperation with the South Carolina Broadcasters Association and this station. To celebrate surprisingly great race, this game day jam surprisingly great lyrics. I want a race that's great. Who is this great tonight? Hey, it's Jake. I want a way to stay. Got to come right. Stick on me. Yeah, they're great. Stick on me. My good neighbor, stick on his name. Introducing the latest Hardee's Angus Burger design. Specifications include juicy 100% black Angus beef, new thick-cut pickles with increased crunchiness, ultra-fresh lettuce for maximum crispness, melty cheese that delivers ultimate flavor satisfaction, all stacked with a premium potato bun and savory signature sauce. The new Icon Angus Burger, part of the new Angus Burger lineup at Hardee's. Indulgence complete. Feed your happy. Available for a limited time at participating locations. Price and participation may vary.
Fan of the movies? Want the inside scoop from today's biggest stars? Then check out the new podcast, The Big Ticket with Mark Malkin, brought to you by iHeartRadio and Variety. Mark, one of the red carpet's most recognizable journalists, gets his guests to open up like never before. The Big Ticket with Mark Malkin has your Hollywood scoop. Tune in every Thursday for a new episode. Search Variety and follow The Big Ticket with Mark Malkin on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Rundown. Follow Rob on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good.
Welcome back to the Rundown. I am Rob Sanders. Justin Hall joins us here momentarily. We'll give him talk with him at 3:30 this afternoon. He'll talk with us more about the Gamecocks losing their their leading tackler from last season in Ernest Jones. We'll also talk about some of the stuff with the Gamecocks and their new head coach with Shane Beamer. Out to the phones we go. And good afternoon. Welcome into the Rundown. Hi, Bobby. How are you, sir? Yeah. Right. The yeah.
Was it, I guess, the American Athletic Championship?
Yep. Yeah, man, it's all over the place, brother. They're canceling games left and right, and this weekend the games are kind of flat, in my opinion, anyway. So, yeah, sure.
So it's a Columbus. Playoff game.
I like it, but I like the idea of a neutral site. Put them at a neutral site. That would make the most sense. Yeah. Hey, man, appreciate you giving us those, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah, some good info there. 16,000 fans at the SEC championship game. Someone put out a picture on Twitter yesterday, and I don't know how realistic this is, but it was talking about the people expecting absurd money. I mean, absurd money for an ACC championship game ticket. And I know that it's a big matchup, but wow, that's all I could say about that. Wow. I mean, it was like, I want to say it was like upwards of $2,000 for an ACC championship game ticket. So what a mess that is. And you know, I think that it's best to I think that it's best to, if you want to go to a game, go to a game. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but this is the one year where if you're going to stay at home, I don't think it's going to hurt anybody's feelings. No one's going to question your fandom if you decide to stay at home. Just big thing on that. Here's my thing on this too, though. If you have $2,000 to pay for an ACC championship game ticket, man, you are a lot better person than I am. I'm not mocking people that have that kind of money. I'm just astonished that someone would pay that much money for an ACC championship game ticket or a ticket to anything. I mean, I've seen Super Bowl tickets where you can get for $2,000. Much less an ACC or SEC or any other type of championship game anywhere. It's insane, in my opinion. So, but these are the same people that will probably spend money for the newest Mayweather fight. Who I got the guy's name. I think his name is Logan that he's fighting. I got to get our fight expert in here, Matt Branscombe, who is a world-class jiu-jitsu specialist, and I can say that because I can look at the belts in his office. Okay, the guy knows his stuff, and he's big on the fight game. These are the people that would pay for that. Take the $2,000 here. Let me help you. Here's what you do: take the $2,000, take 1,000 of it, put it into the bank. Take another 1,000, the other 1,000, and donate it to insert charity of choice. Harvest Hope needs food right now. And then watch the game at home on your HD television. And if you donate the $1,000, I will send you my phone number. And if I'm there covering it, which I'm waiting on the ACC to let me know about if they're going to let people in to do that, then I'll send you screenshots. I'll send you some pictures from up there. There you go. But I don't get all that, man. Let's just spend all kinds of crazy money. Not happening. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Justin Hall joins us here momentarily. We'll talk a little bit about the Gamecock new head coach. Talk about Ernest Jones deciding to head to the NFL. I don't think that's something that's far-fetched. Meaning I don't know how well he's going to be in the drafting front, but if I'm heading into my senior year, you don't know the kind of defensive coordinator that's going to come in here. You don't know a lot of things. What you do know is that if someone advises you that your draft stock is high right now, then maybe that's the way you should go. But with that, man, it's going to be interesting to see what the Gamecocks do next season. And we're going to have that coming here in the next couple of weeks. Who's going to stay? Who's going to go? Of course, Coach Beamer left last night and headed back to Oklahoma. He's going to coach Oklahoma for a couple more weeks and then make his way here to Columbia to get things rolling here with the Gamecocks. Christopher Thompson had it on our WVOC page earlier that, yeah, he's going to do everything via, video and phone. That's one of the things that we've gotten better with is as far as COVID-19 goes, our ability to communicate has gotten a lot better. People can use streaming video, conference calls. I do conference calls every twice a week now, at least, with just stuff at one job. And then you've got, family and stuff like that. You can do, it's nothing to do FaceTime, Zoom, all of that, all at one point. Not a big deal. Whereas before, I think we were doing it, but not necessarily at the level that we are now. Kind of have to do it now. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Are there going to be more cancellations this week? He mentioned Ohio State, Michigan, the American Championship. It was supposed to be Cincinnati and Tulsa, but they'll end up playing a week from Saturday. Man, it's a mess. Absolute mess. We'll take calls this afternoon in just a moment. Of course, we've got Justin Hall joining us here when we come back. And we'll get into a couple of other little things here. I think we got some basketball we could talk about. We'll get into that and a lot more in just a moment here on The Rundown. Don't forget the podcast. It'll be up this afternoon at about 5 o'clock. Appreciate everybody downloading that and checking it out. We'll be back with more of The Rundown in just a moment.
Welcome to Zippo USA, Antibodies Edition. For the latest opinions direct from the Zippo USA app, here's Christina Stoppo.
One recent Zip poll posted on the Zip app asks, would you take a COVID-19 antibody test to return to your office? The total Zip poll numbers, including both men and women, are a 60-40 split, with the majority saying no. But looking at just the poll results from women, over half of 53% say yes, they would take an antibody test. It seems women are more anxious to get back to the office. And some places have tried the use of immunity certificates or badges to indicate that the wearer has had COVID and carries the antibodies. Would you take an antibody test if it allowed you to stop wearing a mask and generally allowed you to get back to normal? 78% of Zip pollers say yes, that they would take an antibody test for it. And Utah dentist Drew Jones took part in the phase 3 trial of the Moderna vaccine. He says he also took an independent test outside the vaccine trial and showed he had developed COVID-19 antibodies.
I can only testify for myself saying it's safe, it's effective.
Does hearing results like this help your confidence in getting the vaccine? 36% of Zip pollers say yes. Just like reviews of a product, the more positives you hear, the better. However, most at 64% say no. They're simply not interested in the vaccine.
Thanks, Christina. Download Zippo USA in your favorite app store today. Share your opinions and make sure your voice is heard. We'll have poll results every day on the trending topics taken directly from the Zip app. Paid for by Zippo USA.
It's the big return of Holiday Lights on the River at Saluda Shoals Park, the Midland's largest drive-through light show. Experience the magic of millions of sparkling lights. Open nightly, November 23rd through December 31st, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Brought by the Irmo Chapin Recreation Commission in partnership with Lexington Medical Center. Make family memories at Holiday Lights on the River. More info on the magic at icrc.net.
It's beginning to sound a lot like Christmas with the new Roku Stream Bar. It's powerful 4K streaming and premium audio all in one. Get into the spirit with holiday music from iHeartRadio at home and any TV with cinematic sound. Hear every detail as the front speakers boost volume and clarity, while the side speakers fill your room with sound. For a not-so-silent night, listen to all your holiday favorites on iHeart Christmas with iHeart Radio. Roku Stream Bar. Shop now at Roku.com. Happy stream.
Or ask your operator for assistance.
This is Doug Gottlieb. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by the Men's Clinic SC.com.
A big bunch of college hoops games scheduled tonight for the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That includes 14th ranked North Carolina at number 3 Iowa and number 11 Duke at home against Kansas running back Christian McCaffrey says he's ready to return to the line.
Hey, bud, you ready?
McCaffrey told reporters his
All right, hold on.
shoulder was great and he expects to play versus Denver on Sunday. And the Panthers will get back to practice tomorrow after reporting no new positive COVID-19 tests. I'm Scott Davidson. It's Chilling Edge with great news if you're a guy with brain fog, sleeping problems, or less drive. We now have the men's clinic in Irvine. The medical team runs full labs and they get a plan designed just for you to get back to your old self. 803-875-MENS or themensclinicsc.com.
Late at night, if you listen to carefully, your parents removing noise. Merry Christmas from Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Welcome back to the Rundown. Out to the phones we go from the fifth quarter post-game show. My buddy Justin Hall joins us. Justin, what's up, friend? We just got news that Ernest Jones has decided to head to the NFL draft. Not exactly shocking news. I mean, new coaches come in, players go. Players just go just in general now. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the coaches.
Coaches, Ernest had a really good 2 years. He was really strong until he was injured late in the year. So, good decision for him. I think he'll be depending on how he grades out in the combine, could be a second or third round draft pick. So we'll see how that goes for him. But congratulations to him. Go make your money.
Yeah, that's got to happen, man. So looking at that, though, that's 3 players from that defense that I think are well thought of as far as the NFL draft circles go, with Mukwamu and J.C. Horn and you mentioned Ernest Jones, maybe a second or third round pick. All of that's great, but that didn't really help out the Gamecocks much this year on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe getting some new faces out there might help the Gamecock front.
Oh, certainly. There's a lot of talent on that defensive side, but based on the competition that I've had over the last couple of weeks, it was a culture issue in the locker room. I think that lines have been drawn in some cases, and blame was trying to start to get shifted around a little bit the more the losses accumulated. So talent wasn't the issue. It was just from the time deal to the game time, something was just disconnected a little bit. And I think that was a culture issue. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for our coach, Mike Champ, but that leads us to where we are with Coach Beamer.
And Coach Beamer, I think that Mike Uva from Watch Fox had the best tweet yesterday about he basically won the press conference. And I think that was and the way the university basically rolled it out, the pictures they put out of him standing in Williams-Brice with a football and then talking to former players, and then the press conference yesterday where he wouldn't mention Clemson's name. He called them the team from the upstate. Little things like that fires up the fan base.
Certainly. It started on Sunday. The picture of him flying in, taking a picture of Williams-Brice. Fans do that kind of thing. Then he's on the field and talking about his daughter finding Easter eggs in an Easter egg hunt when she was 2 years old. And he gets choked up about the memories on the field. Fans do that kind of thing. He speaks to former players. And in that press conference yesterday, it can be argued that every coaching hire wins the press conference unless you are really just bad at this thing. Like Adam Gates was terrible, and Arkansas had their problems. But most coaches win the press conference. He didn't just win the press conference. The University of South Carolina destroyed the last 2 days in terms of social media and the message being sent by Shane Beamer. The fan base that was a little anxious about this hire and unsure, they can still be in their heart of hearts. But I think the fan base was being turned for that hire and for Shane Beamer being as positive and as energetic and enthusiastic as he was yesterday.
And, I've talked about this before here on the show, and I know that South Carolina lost a bunch of folks, but if we have a season next season is not dealing with the pandemic, it's not out of the range of silliness to think that the Gamecocks could be like the next, be what Arkansas is, or even what Mizzou is this season, where things dropped off, and then all of a sudden they can bounce back quickly with some of the pieces that they have left behind for this season.
Game schedule, that means you have conference games, 3 cupcakes as it looks right now, and Clemson as well. And then you have winnable games in the conference. It's not out of the realm of possibility that South Carolina could be a 6 to 7 win team next season. That would be impressive. That'd be a 4 to 5 swing from this year, and it would be a good foundation for a new head coach. And I think an influx of new talent will be important. I think North Carolina is going to be is very important as well. Obviously, we know that there's going to be a new defensive coordinator. We haven't heard yet about the offensive coordinator, but the staff around him is going to be very, very important as it drives the narrative into spring.
Well, and then how important do you think this next season is as far as that record goes for Shane Beamer? I mean, I think that with the fan base, I think 4 to 5 wins next season, I think would be all right. I thought that was going to happen, and that can help him get his feet wet more on the recruiting front.
Rob, is going to be who are the team? We really don't know yet because of the flux that we're in with the signing day coming on the 16th, and it was a free year, and the transfer portal is going to be crazy. So it can be a lot of different faces on this team next year than there is now. So I would say right now, yes, 4 to 5 wins. If you can get the 6, that's great. That's without knowing who's on the roster next year. We have some ideas, but once we know the full roster, we get through spring, you start getting into summer work, then I think you can kind of put the pieces together. Okay, well, with this talent here, and if they can get 4 to 5 wins without a wide receiving core, as it stands right now, that would be impressive. So I just want to see what kind of talent is brought in, what talent is kept, and then, of course, the staff around him before we could really dial in. But I agree with you. 4 to 5 wins would be obviously a 2 to 3 win improvement.
Well, and, you mentioned without a wide receiver core, that's a big deal. But for that to happen, they announced the semifinalists for the Doak Walker Award. I'm going to go ahead and put it out on a limb here that one of the preseason watch lists, when that comes out for the Doak Walker Award, Kevin Harris is going to be on it, and he'll be on this team next fall, according to what we've been told.
One of the best running backs in the SEC. If it wasn't Kevin Harris, he would be considered the best running back in the conference right now. He's one of the best running backs in the country. Unfortunately for him, he's on a terrible team. Now that, on one side, that says, well, look how great he was on a terrible team. On the other side, you're not going to get that award recognition when you're on a 2-8 ball club that's coach was fired mid-season, blah, blah, blah. Kevin Harris is key to success next year. How they work that out with him and Marshawn Lloyd in the spring and the fall. You got a good running back rotation there. Because I don't think you sit Kevin Harris after the year he had this year and just start Marshawn Lloyd. So Kevin Harris is probably going to be your starter with Lloyd spelling in. How does that work in the backfield? Does Luke Doty, what kind of offense establish to complement those two skill sets, and then weapons on the outside? I think that's a major hurdle that Coach Beamer is going to have to jump in year one.
What do you think that Coach Beamer is going to say to Ryan Holinsky?
It appears, I'm sure you saw the picture. Ryan Holinsky was sitting I think he talked about competition. There's going to be a competition for the starting quarterback position because it's so important. You're going to hitch your wagon year one to one of these guys. I don't know where he goes with it, Rob. Just basically he's bringing an Oklahoma-type offense that he had with Lincoln Riley. That fits a Doty style better in terms of mobility. You look back at a Kyler Murray, a Hurts, and whomever.
But Spencer Rattler's a guy that, I mean, he likes to stand in the pocket a good bit. I mean, and he talked about, tailoring the offense yesterday to the players that fit it most. And I understand that Doty came in and did some things, but I wonder in the back of my mind, and you can tell me if I'm silly or not, once people get some tape on Luke Doty, that he may not be as effective as Holinsky would be.
Well, he's going to take the next step. Unfortunately for Ryan, he wasn't given the opportunity to take the next step this year. He never saw the field for any substantial amount of time. I think if it's in the spring or the summer, I think you're going to have a clear picture after the spring. If it's close, Holinsky stays. If it's not, he'll transfer, right? Isn't that seemingly what we think would happen.
I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna go through the spring, in my opinion, and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. So, I think it'll be an open competition through the spring. I think if there's writing on the wall that it's going to be Doty's job, I think that's when we'll see him move on, like you're saying. I think it's important for him to stick around and see, like you mentioned, Beamer did say he wants to tailor the offense to the talent around. If it's a pocket presence in Helinski, great. If it's a mobile quarterback in Doty, great. One of them, whoever it is, will have to take the next step from a freshman campaign.
All right, I've got to ask you a regular college football question because, we all get to be fans. And as a fan, do you want a 5-win Ohio State team in the college football playoff? Yeah, well, they got their game canceled today with Michigan. So according to the Big Ten rules, now the Big Ten is probably somewhere in their Big Ten smoking jackets with their Ohio State lower back tattoos. And they're all sitting around saying, we have to have Ohio State in the championship game. And they're probably going to change the championship game rules. But as it stands right now, they can't even play in the conference championship game. How could they possibly be in the playoff?
They can't be. The overwhelming news is that the playoff team is Ohio State. That's not true.
That is who I'm not sure where you read that, but that is the absolute most laughable thing I have ever heard. Texas A&M is a great team. Florida's a great team. You've got Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama. All of those teams will draw just as much as Ohio State.
I agree. Now, I didn't read it. I heard it on a national show. I can't remember which one it was. I was driving around.
Was it the Ohio State Rolling Radio Show? Because that's the only people. That's the only people who possibly believe that the college football playoff has to have Ohio State in it.
I think they were talking to some Cleveland Browns reporter in Ohio, so it just makes sense to bank the drum. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of Ohio State being in the playoffs anyway because they always just get blown out in the semifinals. I'm not a big fan of the Big Ten in the playoff personally, but I understand you have to do it. No, if you're 5-0, the Big Ten shouldn't change their rules. I have a feeling like you do that they will. And I think that it will rob college football fans of a better playoff. I promise you that if it's Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida, or Texas A&M, interchange them, it will be a better playoff with those 4 or 5 teams, a mixture, than it would be throwing Ohio State in. I just feel like it would just be a much better product, much more enjoyable. Ohio State would get blown out in round 1 like they always do.
Well, and I have this complex in me that I don't like 2 teams from the same conference in the college football playoff. That reeks of the BCS, which was implemented by the SEC to make sure that the SEC did well. I mean, we can go back into that if we want, but I like the idea of having a more broader base. But my goodness, man, 5 games, get out of here! I'm not even.
Well, because if you put Ohio State in and you violate their own rules and you just put them in and you have Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and whoever, then it's just like, why do we even play the season? Why not just have those 4 teams play anyway and just not worry about getting everybody else getting COVID?
Right. I agree with you on that, but I think what they're going to come back with is that I think there's backlash, too, at the ACC for keeping their championship game, quote, according to them, the integrity of it, by not having Clemson, Notre Dame, and Miami playing this weekend. That's kind of going to be the same thing that you're going to hear on a lot of the Ohio State side, but then you laugh at them and say, wait a minute. Clemson's played 10 games. That's twice the games you've played. Same thing with Notre Dame. Same thing with Miami. So stop it. It's frustrating. But anyway. All right, Justin, tell folks where they can find you on Twitter. And I'd love to have you come sit in studio with us, man. We got to wear a mask to get up in here, but we'd love to have you come and do some stuff with us later on this winter.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You let me know of a day. People can find me on Twitter at Justin. Right now, likes and retweets from Gamecock football talking about this Shane Beamer hire. I was big on this one from the start. We broke it. It was broken during the 5th quarter post-game show, so we got to talk about it for a couple of hours on Saturday. So fun stuff on the Twitter. But yeah, let me know when you want me in studio. Be happy to join.
All right, we got to bring you in studio and we'll talk. We may do it around signing day. That would be great. We'll figure that out as we go along. But Justin Hall joins us, of course, from the 5th quarter post-game show on WVOC. Justin, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it. All right, there you go. You can sense my vileness towards Ohio State here because I'm already getting blown up about this stuff. And the first thing that they're telling me is that, Well, the ACC is doing this. It's not about the ACC. It's about the Big Ten deciding, oh, we'll change our mind late, and then boom, put this stuff out there with an 8-game schedule with, from what I gather, their COVID protocol was tough. And I don't mind that part of it, but they were ambitious. Let's just say that, thinking they could get 8 games in. And then when things happen, then they're upset because their best team doesn't get into the college football playoff conversation. It's going to be interesting tomorrow night when they announce the latest CFP rankings. What's going to happen on that front? What's going to happen on the front of where is Ohio State going to fall to? Yeah, that's going to be interesting. In my mind, the playoff would be better with whatever one-loss team that you have. What the debate we should be having is if Florida beats Alabama by a field goal. Let's take this call really quick here. And good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown. Okay. Oh. I thought it was Tuesday night. Yeah, okay, today is Tuesday. I'm losing my brain. Thank you for that. No, I appreciate it. I like being corrected. I appreciate it, buddy. There you go. So that tonight. The argument we should be having, though, is why what happens if Clemson wins by a field goal over Notre Dame? You have a one-loss Notre Dame team, and let's say Florida wins by a field goal over Alabama. We should be having an argument over, do you put Alabama in? Do you put obviously Alabama would be the number one choice there, but do you put Notre Dame in over Texas A&M? Those are the things we should be arguing about, but we're not. We're talking about a team that's played 5 games, and the 4-letter network is going to keep thrusting them into our faces. Oh, what about the kids from Ohio State? What about the kids from Notre Dame? What about the kids from Texas A&M? The ones that actually got out there and put their kid hearts on the line to finish a full season. I guess those don't matter. Let's just have Ohio State and make that great, right? Absolute silliness. Thanks to my buddy there giving us a call to correct me. I need that sometimes. More of the Rundown when we come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Warm up your workout routine this winter with Carolina Specialty. With the largest selection of ellipticals, treadmills, exercise bikes, home gym systems, and more. From premium brands like Life Fitness, Matrix Fitness, Hoist Fitness, and Landis. While other retailers are sold out, Carolina Specialty Fitness has shipments arriving daily so you can find the perfect equipment for you and your budget. Reach your holiday goals today. Step up your workout game with Carolina Specialty Fitness. Go to CarolinaSpecialtyFitness.com.
I just love old holiday traditions, don't you? The older, the better. But I can't say the same about old carpet cleaners. Soapy, harsh chemicals. Santa might as well bring me a lump of coal. That's why I call Zero Res Carpet Cleaners. Their advanced patented cleaning process uses powered water technology for a superior, longer-lasting clean. The kind of clean your holiday traditions deserve. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus a free holiday. Call Zero Res today at 803-262-4020 or schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8
The
years.
same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby or save your retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down the street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, and Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
I am Steve Smith Sr., and on my new podcast, Cut to It, we're talking to your favorite athletes.
The New Orleans Saints, Malcolm Jenkins.
How long did it take for you to take that first step and talk to a therapist? My body felt like it was in fight or flight. I can't do this anymore. iHeartRadio's #1 for podcasts, but don't take our word for it. Find Cut to It featuring Steve Smith Sr. on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. iHeartRadio station.
Final segment of the rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. Appreciate the folks helping me out today, including Wes Bryant from the ACC Digital Network, Justin Hall joining us here as well. We do have basketball this week. South Carolina will welcome in Wofford on Thursday. 6 o'clock tip on the SEC Network. Clemson, by the way, they will play Maryland in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That game is at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, tomorrow. Clemson's the 2.5-point favorite in that matchup. Tonight in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, Purdue and Miami, Boston College and Minnesota, North Carolina and Iowa, Ohio State and Notre Dame, Penn State and Virginia Tech, Illinois and Duke, Syracuse and Rutgers. So you got a slew of ACC games tonight. The big one there with North Carolina and Iowa. And I kind of like that Illinois-Duke matchup later on. Duke up at Cameron Indoor Stadium. So that's interesting. From the SEC front, I mentioned the Gamecocks play on Thursday against Wofford. Tonight you got Colorado and Tennessee, Montana and Georgia, Arkansas and Tulsa, Vanderbilt and SMU. That game was canceled. I'm just reading that now. And Jackson State and Mississippi State. So we're going to see how that works out as far as how college basketball is going to deal with COVID-19 issues as well. My name is Rob Sanders. Tomorrow on the program, working on getting former Gamecock wide receiver Tim Frisbee. Also, Tyler Crowder, host of Kicking It with Crowder, will give us some NFL picks for the weekend. He will cry through his Atlanta Falcons tears and help us out tomorrow. And more guests coming up as we roll along here. Once again, this is The Rundown. You've been listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Clemson Sports Talk is next.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with
guys.
ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder.